All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to episode number 82 of Sports Cards Live. Today is February the 20th, 2021. My name is Jeremy Lee, and I am happy to be here tonight with you. And we have our guest, Mike Phillips from Upper Deck. He will be coming out shortly. Before we bring him out, I do want to thank last Saturday's guest, Patrick Bet David. What an amazing episode that was. Thanks everybody for checking that out. If you have not yet, please go check that out. It is on the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel. I also want to thank Carvin Chung, who came in and tagged in for Patrick at the 1 hour mark. Awesome to have Carvin come in and help debrief the first half of that show. And I want to thank James Hummel, who joined me on the After Hours show last Saturday night. Coming up on March the 6th, 2 Saturdays from now, Brian Gray from Leaf will be joining me. He recently purchased the Pro Set brand, so we're looking forward to having him on the show. Tonight on After Hours, my guest is Adam Gray, the Real 27 guy, editor-in-chief of the Basketball Card Fanatic, and a favorite guest of all of yours. Looking forward to having him on a couple hours from now. We are closing in on 2,300 subscribers. Thanks to each and every one of you. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Greatly appreciate it. I want to do a couple of shout outs here very quickly for the Big Three Hockey on Instagram. Give these guys a follow. They showcase the finest singles in the hobby. Great guys, supporters of the channel. Give them a check out. And I also want to let you guys know, I heard back from Brad from PSA Canada. He let me know that they were able to secure the same pricing from PSA for March as they did for their February submission. The email, a lot of people asked me for their email address. There it is on the ticker right now, PSA Canada grading at gmail.com. Send Brad an email, Brad and Len, and they will be happy to help you out if you are sending cards to PSA from Canada. All right, let's get to tonight's guest. Tonight's guest got his start in the hobby in 1977 when his mother, driving home from work, brought him packs of baseball cards. When friends were selling lemonade, he was selling cards. He ran a card shop in the early 90s, and he worked at Fleer from 1995 till 2000 when he joined Upper Deck, where he still works to this day. He is a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers, the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Sixers. Favorite athletes are Tiger Woods and Eric Lindros. Let's bring him out right now. Mike Phillips, welcome to episode 82 of Sports Cards Live. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm impressed. You're doing a show after this, did you say?
I am, Mike.
That is impressive. I appreciate your dedication. I really do.
Thanks, man. I'll tell you what happened. Early on, I was doing the first show, and we'd be finished on a Saturday night, and people would be like, keep going, go for hour three. And I thought, a 3-hour stream on the YouTube channel, who's going to watch that? Never mind a 2-hour. So we just do a brand new show, bring on another guest, and have a little bit of a more relaxed sort of show. But listen, we've got great viewership already here. Thanks everybody for joining us. This is Mike Phillips. He is the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Upper Deck. And we got a lot to talk about. So let's jump right in. I want to start off with a fun sort of question, Mike. I mean, we talked about this the other day. I grew up dreaming of working at a card company. I never did. You got to live that dream. How fortunate do you feel to work for Upper Deck and just at a card company right now?
I every day I think about it, honestly, Jeremy. Every day I appreciate that great intro also. And it's true. Like when I was a kid, and even when I was, in high school, let's say, I thought, wow, what an unbelievable job it would be to work at a card company. Like it was a dream, right? And to be able to not only get to do that, but to do that for as long as I have, I'm blessed. And I honestly, like, when you have some up days and down days, just like any other job. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking about the fact that I get to do something that I love, that I truly love to do. And I see people who work and just to go through the grind every day, and I feel bad for them because I get to do something that I honestly love and enjoy doing. And I never take for granted how fortunate I am to have that. I never do.
Well, and you've been a hobbyist, a collector your whole life, pretty much. Give the audience and myself a little bit of insight into your current collection. What do you actually collect for yourself? What are your hobby pursuits that are ongoing right now?
So, yeah, I mean, as you said, I got started collecting baseball cards when I was a little kid. My mom used to buy me packs at the drugstore. And then when I got older, I got to ride my bike and buy them for myself. And I really have always had that bug, always have. And collected my whole life, never got rid of anything. I still have everything I bought when I was a kid. I'm one of the few, you always hear those stories about everybody who doesn't. Working in the business as long as I have, I'm probably, I don't know if jaded's the right word, but I'm around it all the time. So it is a little bit of a different feel. So I don't collect like in the way that I used to. I love going to the National every year. Unbelievably missed event last year. Very, very sad. I know you go every year. And when I go to that show and when I'm scouring eBay or wherever, I like to find things that are unique. A couple things I really like. I collect uncut sheets, which is pretty unusual because I know how unmainstream, how difficult they are to find. They're not something that are readily available, which I also like. They take up a lot of space, which my wife does not like, but they display beautifully. And I also like I like to try to get things that are personalized. If I'm ever going out and getting something signed, I always have it signed to me. I don't do it for the future value. I really take pride in getting something that's personalized to me. And honestly, I even full disclosure, I do go out there all the time, particularly on eBay, and look for items that are personalized to Mike because I do have a common name.
Yeah.
And it's not, so it may not be necessarily originally signed to me, but when I get it in, I feel kind of like it has been. So that's really what I collect. And I have I have a nice collection of things that I was able to work on over the years as well.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. Thanks for that. So the next topic we're going to discuss is a bit about your time at Fleer and some of the projects you were involved in then, a bit of your history in the hobby. Before we do though, Mike, let's just say hello to some of the people we have in the chat here. I'm going to run through it. We got Hockey Cod. Good evening to you. Foul 5 Ball joins us as always. Rocco Rosato. Happy to have you. 90s Hockey. Great show. My buddy Joe from Santa Cruz is here. BT. Been looking forward to this one. Jeff McMahon, good evening. Dennis, happy to have you as always. My man Sam, Lowell's here again. Hello, Lowell. Terry Fortune. Frankie, awesome to have you. Says another great show. Thank you, Frankie. Ryan is here. He's watching Flames hockey. You're going to have to keep me posted on the score in the Flames game, please. Brent Criswell, thank you, Brent. Great to have you. Nick, good to see you. Huge customer. This is for you, Mike. Hockey Cod says, huge customer here. Thank you very much. That's very nice. Just inventory. The great guests keep on coming. I'm trying, Justin. I'm trying. Al, good evening to you. Donnie, good evening to you. Thanks for the digital Avs cards today. There you go. Foul 5 Ball. I saw my collection from when I was a kid too. Yeah, right on. Anonymous Facebook user. If you are anonymous, guys, come watch on YouTube. Come watch on YouTube. You'll even be 10 seconds ahead, I believe. All-time greats. Blog Victor, good evening. Hockey Cod. Lee Haskins, glad to have you. Tiger Jordan, good to see you. Hershey's, this is better than anything from Netflix. I love to hear that. Thank you so much. Peanuts, good evening to you. Bobby Baseball. Todd McDonald, thank you, Todd. And my man Charles Hind is here. All right, Mike. So you oversaw product development at Fleer. You were at Fleer from 95 till 2000. And what I didn't know, I know now, and I think some people will be interested to learn, is that you were involved in some of these sets that are really making a resurgence over the last couple of years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences working at Fleer?
I tell you what, it was an amazing time. Not just now today when you realize the importance of some of the things that we worked on back then, but just I'm talking about in the moment. It was just such a fun place to work. Great people. Really, really just loved what we did and really took a lot of pride in it. But I have to tell you, when not until obviously recently, when after the 90s was a very tumultuous period in this hobby, right? Back then. And, at Fleer in particular, we were going through a bankruptcy period. We were getting sold off. So there was a lot of, uneasiness, yet we still kind of focused on what we were doing, and we were able to do some pretty cool things. When I first came there, I was working at a distributor, and one of my coworkers and I moved down to Fleer. We were all owned by Marvel at the time, and Fleer didn't have a distribution program to speak of. So our first charge was to do that, and I was able, because I was a big collector and really vested in the hobby, and I was able to do some work with the product development team. Eventually moved over there full time and did oversee that for a couple years. I think it was from, I want to say like early 98 towards the end of 99, somewhere in that period. throughout that time, I personally worked and oversaw the EX brand. So I built the EX brand and when I say built, that means put together, came up with the insert names, sets, the set sizes, the checklist, the ratios, names, you name it. Work with the designers to come up with the designs for each insert. It was a dream come true. It really was. It was just a lot of fun. And we didn't know it then, but we were creating some pretty important sets for the industry. Never in a million years did I dream that they would have the impact that they do now. I would be lying if I said that. But I can certainly tell you some stories if you'd like about some things that went into EX 2000, EX 2001.
Well, Mike, what does EX mean? The letter.
Doesn't mean anything really. It was just it started with truth be told, it started with Emotion. You remember the Emotion brand from Skybox? I think it was 93, I think is when that came out. And there was a hyphenated E, and it was just in a time where those sort of I guess you call them prefixes were kind of the thing, right? So it was then taken to EX and EXL. And then when I took it over in 97, we made it EX 2000 kind of to bring it into that futuristic feel. So that EX 2000 was the first year that I actually worked on it. And it was just an iconic design. We took it from something that had been used 2 years before, one of the EX brands, with that sky background in it, and just loved how that looked. It was so unique. But man, oh man, I tell you what, is it okay if I go on a little story here?
Yeah, please do. I'm just pulling out an EX card of my own just to look at it as you talk about them. So please go ahead.
I didn't appreciate it at the time. We're talking about, hard to believe, we're talking about 25 years ago right now, but to do those die cuts with that plastic in the middle, when they were coming through on sheets, and they literally had to be, because of the plastic, they had to turn the heat up in that part of the factory up over 100 degrees just to cut them, to be able to cut them with the 3 layers to soften up the plastic. So the production went through, and the first boxes came off when we started opening them, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster. There was so much damage. There was peeling on the interior die cut. The individual player die cuts, their face would be kind of off. The registration would be off, so their face would be smudged. I mean, it was just, and EX 2000 basketball was really close to being canceled. It was really close to never seeing the light of day. And I remember the meeting like it was yesterday, and we pledged to give it one more shot. We delayed the product. And even though that is probably one of the most condition sensitive sets ever produced, I'm thankful that it made it out, and we were able to solve some things as baseball and football came out after, but it almost never came out. And I can't even imagine what the hobby would be like without that product. It's pretty iconic.
Yeah, there'd be a void. There'd be a void for sure. What can you tell us? I think it's super cool, especially for the basketball collectors watching, to hear that you created and came up with these insert names for the EX 2000 series. What about the Arena Earl and Gene from Arena Designs? I've seen them on the Cardboard Chronicles show on YouTube before. You worked with them. What was it like working with artists in the context of making sports cards versus just photos?
Well, first of all, Gene and Earl are two of the finest people. Forget about their talent, because their talent is unrivaled, but they're just great people. We had so much fun coming to work and going through this stuff every day. And, the imagination on those two, they would make it, such a priority to go out and find what we call in the industry substrate. So those are the different types of things you try to print on. And they just wanted to try all different things. And we tried many of them, and a lot of them really worked. Printing on metal, printing on the substrates like Jambalaya is printed on. I mean, no one ever did anything like this before. And it was expensive. It was difficult. And, we really challenged our vendors back then. some things that they thought when they first saw it were like, there's no way. And then we'd be like, just try. And, eventually they would get it to work, but they're fantastic. And I keep in touch with them to this day. And they're still doing design work, and they're just fantastic people. And I was just privileged to work with them.
And they've become somewhat of icons in the hobby themselves, simply because they designed the precious metal gems from Metal Universe, which is all the rage. You were there for some of that. What do you think of what's going on lately? And I mean, you've been a part of it at Upper Deck, but we've seen precious metal gems in Fleer Showcase Hockey in the mid 2010s here. Charles Hind has a great comment here. He says, "What was it like to see your EX series come back by Upper Deck in the Fleer Ultra series in the later 2010s?" So it ties right into what I'm asking. Like, what's it like to be able to draw from then and bring those popular designs back to the hobby?
It's pretty awesome. I may have had a little influence on that, but it really is. It really is pretty cool to see that stuff. And I'm just back to Gene and Earl. I'm glad that they get the attention that they deserve for some of that stuff. That they had a hand in bringing to the hobby. It is really cool to be able to do that stuff, and to see people really gravitate towards it and appreciate it is extra special. It really is cool. And now it's, Upper Deck, as you and your listeners know, we own the Fleer names now. So it gives us the ability to do, a lot of things that harken back to that history. It gives us just it expands our portfolio. And, when we do it, we want to make sure we do it right. And I am on our guys all the time. Look, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right, because the people who collect this stuff and appreciate it, they don't want you going halfway. We cannot. That's offensive. You can't do that. It has to be true to the history and to what the collector expects out of it. We can't go halfway. And I think we've done a pretty good job. I think we could do even better. And I'm very hopeful. And maybe we'll touch on it later. We have some brands like Metal Universe Hockey coming out, and we also have a Metal Universe Marvel product coming out as well, where we're going to harken back to some of those things, but also put a more modern spin on them. So it's pretty exciting.
That is exciting. I personally cannot wait for Skybox Metal Universe to come out. I know a lot of my viewers know that. They ask me, "How are you going to open it? Are you going to keep? What are you going to do?" I said, I just got to try and get as much as I can right now, and we'll see what happens from there. But I'm very excited about it. I'm a big fan of that stuff. Last topic on your days at Fleer, autographics. Autographics, I know, is a very popular autograph set amongst basketball collectors, especially the ones who go back to the 90s. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with autographics.
Yeah, so that program in my mind is one of the most, and I get no credit for that. That was being worked on, believe it or not, that was being developed at Skybox before Skybox and Fleer were actually fully merged together, believe it or not. And to me, that's one of the, I know it is appreciated, but the concept behind it was really groundbreaking. It's this almost like a what's used today, a term living card set. It was a set that went over multiple brands and grew. There were certain athletes that were exclusive, part of the full set, but exclusive to certain brands. And then there were other athletes that could be found in maybe 2 or 3 different brands, and some that were peppered throughout all of the Skybox brands. So I just think there's nothing really like that anymore. But I thought it was a really, really cool idea to be able to, and the seating ratios depending on the SRP of the product. If it was a more expensive product, it was easier to get. If it was a lower end product, it was hard to find these cards. And then of course the parallels and everything else. Really early on in the days of parallels, I just thought that's a set. And there are cards from that, of course, that do value out pretty strong even today. But I thought the way that it was built was pretty ingenious, and it still stands the test of time.
Yeah, we're seeing some of it now. I know just from hockey, which I know best, you see the Exquisite brand getting seeded into different products. A few years ago, the Ice brand wasn't its own. It was seeded into different products. So is that strategy or that format related to your days with the autographics? Is the autographics the grandfather of these multi-product seeded brands?
I think it could be probably given a credit at the end of the film, but yeah, I think it probably has some influence over it. But I think back then there weren't as many brands as there are now, and there weren't as many things weren't as complex. So a lot of what happens today is planned, and a lot of it isn't planned. So, for instance, when you get certain assets in and you want to make sure that they get in the hands of collectors, sometimes we get things in and they don't make a pack out, and we put them in something else so they can at least get out there fairly to collectors. So, but that is an interesting way of looking at it, Jeremy. But it could very well be.
All right. Okay. So next topic I want to talk about are let's get into Upper Deck and your portfolio of products. I want to understand, how do you guys determine going into every planning year? How do you guys determine how many sets you're going to make each year? How do you determine what set might get canceled? How do you determine what set might come back or when you need a new one? I want to hear all about that. Think about it just for one moment. We're just going to say hi to, we got Mike Ken in the house from Pastime says hi to both of us. That's Ken Richardson, I believe, from BC. We got Slow Pitch Fanatic in the house. Hockey Cod just sent Oldie PMG off to PSA for grading. Smart move, I got to think. Hockey Cod, can't wait for Metal Universe. Same here, man. Same here. Victor, I love hearing all the stories of these great card designs, right? I hear that. Ken says Fleer Metal will be amazing. I think the design will engage a younger crowd by the look and older with its heritage. Yeah, I think so too. 2007 Upper Deck Masterpieces Baseball, one of my favorite sets. Love the artwork. Yeah, people like these unique designs nowadays. It's not just about a rookie card or a card. It's the design and the aesthetics of a card is maybe more important now than it's ever been, although some people might argue that because of what's going on with the commodity type rookies. That's another topic. We'll go on. We'll do that later. Charles Murphy, good evening to you. Frank Estella, good evening to you. Glad you're happy with this guest. And my Flames are down 2-0. That's no good.
O'Connor.
Okay. So your planning year, your sets that you come out, how do you guys go about planning a year worth of products?
It's a lengthy process, and we're already right now, we're well into planning for 21-22, and I've already started 22-23. I don't know how many of your listeners realize the lead time that goes into creating a card set, a traditional hockey card set, let's just say. It's now from initial concept to getting the cards in people's hands is at minimum 12 months. And there's just the complexity and everything that goes into it. It really does take a good year to do it and do it right. So every year's different. Every year's different. We look at a lot of different things. We talk to a lot of people. We talk to a lot of collectors, a lot of shops, distributors. We talk with our league partners, and we take all that feedback and we come together for several strategy meetings throughout an extended course of time. And really look at where the business is. We certainly look at the rookie class, very big factor, and the anticipated demand based on that rookie class. We look at economic factors of what's going on in the world. And we take all of that into account. And then we start penciling in our first crack probably 2 years before, at least at a schedule. So it really is a lengthy process. But, and look, when we're doing that now in this market that we're in, which is really an unprecedented market, our mindset is much different than, say, 2 years ago. So I think, the market now can bear, some more releases than maybe if we were talking about 2 years ago. When you have a rookie class like the one we have right now, it could probably bear a little bit more than what we'd call an average year. So there are a lot of factors, I think, but I think overall the condition and the where the hobby is and the rookie class are two major factors for sure.
Makes good sense for sure. A couple of specifics I'm curious about. So with respect to planning and which products and brands you bring back every year, a lot of people may, and not me because I'm a fan of this product, but a lot of people may ask how Synergy has lasted 4 years, where some other people may ask what happened to Fleer Showcase. I loved that product. Mm-hmm. So, a set that, and of course the people at both extremes are going to be the most outspoken, right? So of course Synergy gets a bit of a bad rap, although there are some awesome rare cards in there. Whereas Fleer Showcase seems like it would be an absolute stud of a project right now, seeing with what's going on, where the hobby is at these days with the Fleer brand overall. Will you guys bring back Fleer? Will you cancel Synergy? What goes into those types of decisions versus the overall year's planning?
Yeah, it's a great question. Synergy is a great one, a great example. It's a perfect example. So we had a concept, which would, to your point earlier, a very technology heavy brand where, we can get a little bit more, let our creative team get a little bit more creative with some design work. From a content standpoint, try a couple different things, some interesting parallels, some really low numbered rookies. And for whatever reason, those first couple years, it just was really having trouble catching on. And there were products around it that would perform pretty well, but Synergy just couldn't find its niche in the marketplace. And everyone has their theories on why that is. For me, overseeing sales, I have a job to do, and that is to sell product. And I'm judged by that, and rightfully so. And when we're doing the planning meetings that we talked about earlier, we look at these brands and when you look at the revenues that are generated by each brand, Synergy was trailing by quite a bit. I mean, it was nothing you could really hide from. But one thing that I think it's important to mention at this point, the team that I work with at every level, including and most importantly, the president of our company, a guy by the name of Jason Mashera, who is I'm real lucky to work with him for a lot of reasons, but if for none other, his background is a lot like mine. He used to own a hobby shop. I mean, the president of our company owned a hobby shop. So he looks at, and we're able to look at things in a much different way than I think other companies can. We always have the hobbyist, the collector in mind when we're making decisions. So when you have something like Synergy and you realize that, yeah, the revenues aren't great, but there are still people like yourself who enjoy opening it. And then all of a sudden they've been buying it for 3 years and then you take it away. That's not an easy decision because, people look forward to it. Not enough people, unfortunately, but people look forward to it and then you take it away. That leaves sort of a hole in someone's collection, and that's not really fair. We do not like to get rid of brands. That's a very, very important decision that we make. And I will tell you, Synergy, we would sit in these meetings and it was like, all right, one more year. We got to give it one more year. And that was last year, and it did okay. And we knew coming into this year, okay, we got Alexi Lafreniere. We got one of these generational rookies coming in, strong rookie class. Do we give it one more shot? And I'm like, all right, one more. Like, that's it. All right, this is it. We'll give it that one last chance. And I got to tell you, comparing sales of this year's Synergy to years past, it's night and day. And I know a lot of that is because we're in this uptick in the hobby and Alexi, but I feel pretty confident that now you're going to see Synergy remain part of the portfolio, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that the base cards are one of the big chases within the product. I think that's a cool concept. You mentioned that you take it very seriously when you guys are going to discontinue a brand. What about it? Just tweaked a memory in my head. When you guys completely changed the format of Black Diamond from being a 24 or 36 pack product to being more of a 1 pack per, a bigger, I don't know what you call it, but when you just have 1 pack around the $100 mark sort of thing. What kind of thought process goes into that? Because I know some people were disappointed. They were collecting Black Diamond every year in its old format. They liked it. You guys make that change. And my comment to them at the time was, there's so many other things. Maybe you can renew your collecting approach. Find something new that you like. If that was all you liked, I'm sorry for your loss, but there's so many options in the hobby. What goes into a decision like that?
So that's a great example. That was another tough one. That was a really tough one. Black Diamond had a pretty strong lineage. It'd been around for a while, and it was very closely associated. It's a diamond. It's our logo, right? Like, so it was really, it's a brand that's near and dear for a lot of reasons. But again, from a revenue standpoint, when you look at, sort of that the weakest sort of link in the chain, Black Diamond was down there, similar to where Synergy was. It needed a reinvention. It needed something to spark it, to change it. And we felt pretty strongly that it needed to just be kind of clear whiteboard, start over. What can we do? And the product team really felt very strongly that we could take that, add some brand new concepts to it, take it to a higher end, and give it a shot. And I was a little nervous about it, but at the end of the day, it was one of the better decisions we made. Now, I know there'll be some people who are upset that collected, Black Diamond with that light FX foil. I mean, I love the look of those cards, but it just, at the end of the day, it was about revenue, and it just wasn't towing its weight, and it needed a change. But to your point though, Jeremy, I think it's important to point this out, and it goes back to your last question. We have a portfolio of brands, and every one of those brands has to have a reason for being. We don't just throw brands in there just to pump up our numbers. And if the market can't handle it, and if it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't have a reason for being, we're not going to do it. And so Black Diamond, we felt it had a lot of history. It still needed to be there. But to your point, we have other brands. Every brand has a reason and a price point. You're not going to be able to buy everything. And everyone can't afford a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce. And that's why they're different cars. That's why there's different card brands. I mean, we're fortunate we're enabled to do lots of different brands at different price points based on the license that we have. And we can't make something that works for everyone, unfortunately. That's why we're fortunate to be able to do a lot of different brands.
Yeah, that's great. And so, with Black Diamond versus just canceling it altogether, you just reinvented it so that the equity, that lineage would continue to live on. I think a great move. Okay, cool. So there's a comment here from Hockey Cod. I want to bring it on. I think it's a great question. He says, how much do you guys look at social media sites like Reddit, Hobby Insider, Facebook, blowout forums, all these different things for what the customers have to say about the product? And, actually, I'll just let you speak to that. How often do you and the team look at these things and how much influence do they have on decisions you make?
I think a lot. We obviously, in today's world, social media is obviously a part of all of our everyday lives, but at the same time, you have to take some of it with a grain of salt, because a lot of times people vent, and rightfully so. People are upset. People don't, and everyone has an opinion. And that's what's great about message boards. You're able to have discussions with your peers and give your opinions. And it's just an amazing thing that, it's especially for our hobby, the ability to share those thoughts with your community is just, it's a great thing. And I can't even imagine our hobby without it. But we definitely do. And our product team in particular spends a lot of time talking with collectors, certainly with shop owners, with our distribution partners. We spend a lot of time getting feedback, getting opinions, throwing ideas by, brainstorming, and it's super, super important. We like to think we're good at what we do, and I think we are. But at the end of the day, we don't know everything, and we absolutely have to listen to the people who are buying our product. It's a responsibility of a manufacturer, and we do a lot of that. We really do. The product guys spend a lot of time reading, certainly your forum and the other forums out there, and spend a lot of time on social media. Absolutely.
All right, good. Thanks for that. We have Wayne Fraser in the house. Says Mike, one of the best guys in the business.
Oh, thanks, Wayne.
Goes on to say that I just read his mind about Black Diamond. Ken Richardson says, this is a good question. How are you guys finding collectors engaging with the bounty programs?
It depends on the product. Sometimes the bounty product works unbelievably well, and we just sail through the prizes in record time, and other times it takes a long time. I think it's the bounty programs, which I think are fantastic. The idea behind it is great. It's encouraging set collecting, which I think is something that we can never do enough of. It's encouraging people to really try to, chase things down and find things. I love the idea. The problem, not the problem, but the challenge, I should say, with the bounty program is just educating people on it and getting the word out there and understanding it and promoting it. And we probably need to do a better job of that. And we will going forward. But I love those programs. I love any program that encourages people to try to appreciate base sets or putting something together. And the race to do it is just add some excitement.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Charles Murphy says he's a fan of Synergy. You and me, Charles, we're a bit of a minority, but looks like less of a minority this year than in past years. So I want to thank Terry Fortune and Ryan O'Hara for letting me know that Matthew Tkachuk has scored for the Flames. Andy Mack, same to you. Thanks, guys. Next time I hear from you, I want to see 2-2. If you can do anything about that, that would be great. Here's a question, bit off topic right now, but we're gonna touch on it anyway. Joe Perot, he wants to know. He says, God bless Upper Deck. I'm wondering if Mike could comment on Michael Jordan and LeBron James autograph rights and how Upper Deck is approaching its relationship with those two GOATs. What can you say about that, Mike?
Well, I mean, what I say first and foremost is, a day doesn't go by where we're not appreciative of the fact that those two players, arguably the two best players to ever play the game, are associated with, are partners with, and are a part of the Upper Deck family. MJ, it's hard to believe MJ, 30 years. And, as a part of the Upper Deck family, it's just unbelievable. We're very honored and privileged that they are a part of our team. We're, without an NBA trading card license, we're challenged in how we can do autograph trading cards. We on the Upper Deck authenticated side of our business is where we concentrate the majority of our efforts with regard to their autographs. And coming up with new ways. As a matter of fact, I think next week we have a couple of new MJ releases on the Upper Deck authenticated side of the business that we'll be unveiling. But yeah, I mean, how do we approach it? Very carefully. We will never do anything that will compromise the value. We hold them at a very high standard, very high regard. You're not going to see a lot of them go into products just because they're so sacred and we have to, protect them obviously. It's an amazing thing to be associated with both of them. And particularly with LeBron as his legacy it's still being written. He's an amazing athlete, what he's been able to do, both on and off the court. We are one of the largest supporters of his charity, the I Promise School. And what he's doing for kids back in his hometown of Akron is just unbelievable. And we're proud to be a part of that. So it's a relationship that we never, ever, ever take lightly and are very proud of to be associated with both of them.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. Especially that you're involved with the charity. I think that's a great thing. Okay, a couple more questions we have here. I'll just bring this one up. Hockey Cod says that he bought 4 boxes of Synergy, but went to get more, but the shop ran out. So I guess sales of Synergy aren't as difficult as they were in the early years. Here's a question from Billy, Mike, and I like this one too because it's timely. He says, do you approach a season differently when it is defenseman heavy? 21 is projected to have 3 defensemen going 1 to 3. Is Quinnton Byfield going to be the face of 21-22 branding? What can you say to these questions?
It's an awesome question, actually, and it's very relevant. So next year's draft does look very defenseman heavy, and that's a perfect example of one of those things where you have to really look at the rookie class. Nothing against defensemen, but as we know, from a collectability standpoint, it's you take a little bit of a hit there. And yes, the one thing we have to wait for before we make any decisions is does Quinnton skate, right? Like, he's in the AHL and we, while we'd like to expect that the Kings will call him up at some point, we don't know. And, we can't assume that. We expect it. And as of right now, if at some point he does, he will absolutely be expected. I would expect he'd be the face of 21-22 for sure. We also have a very strong relationship with Quinnton, and we are super excited about that and his prospects of bringing the Kings back to, prosperity quicker than most teams have the opportunity to when they draft someone of that stature. I think he's going to be a fantastic player, and yeah. So assuming he skates, he'll start out in the early season products, absolutely. But he's got to skate first. Nothing we can do about that.
For sure. And we're going to get into cutoff dates a little bit later. Back to the Michael Jordan discussion. I have heard, and I don't know if you can confirm or deny, I've heard that Michael Jordan has an ownership stake in Upper Deck. Just hearsay, coming from nobody reliable. Is there any truth to that?
No, that's an old wives' tale. I don't. That was something that I think that started maybe even before I was working at the company where that was bantered about. But no, that's not true.
Not true.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I think it was an office with Michael Jordan's name on the outside of it. I can't say for sure if he ever visited that office or not. But yeah, it's a cool story, but it's not true.
All right. Well, thanks for confirming or denying confirming the denial. Okay. Kickdown says, I'm curious of your opinion on Top Shot digital cards, etc., that are becoming more prevalent in the space. Are digital cards applying additional pressure for innovation at Upper Deck?
Well, I mean, digital. I wouldn't necessarily say digital cards are applying pressure. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be innovative. We're never, ever satisfied. We're never sitting still. We're always looking at different things that we can do. There's only so much you can do with a 2.5 by 3.5 inch piece of cardboard, right? Like, and honestly, I never cease to be amazed at what not only us but our fellow card manufacturers are able to do with the trading card. It's pretty amazing if you think about what has been able to be done. So. We're always being pushed to be innovative. With regard to Top Shot, I have to admit, I don't fully get it. Like I can't wrap my head around it. I understand what it is, and I think it's pretty cool. But when I see those numbers getting thrown around for what people are paying,
yeah.
But then again, I'm blown away by what's going on in our industry. So I guess you can't be too surprised at anything these days. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm very curious to see where that goes and if it can sustain and if it actually becomes something long term.
Yeah, same here. Well, yeah. Time will tell for sure. Nick says, loving the show. Mike is a great person to have working at Upper Deck. Thank you, Nick. Okay. John Fernandez, excited for the Stanley Cup set from Upper Deck. Store orders coming soon. Do you have a quick answer for that?
Yeah, I think it's ready. The Stanley Cup box set's always a challenge for us because it's such a short window, and we have a minimum quantity. If we can't hit that what we call an MOQ, minimum order quantity, and if we can't, if it's a team that we can't hit that number with, we can't produce what we'd call like a revenue product, like a box set. So when Tampa Bay won, which is great for Tampa Bay, they won not that long ago. Tampa's a good market, but it's not like a national or a worldwide market. So we couldn't justify doing a box set. So we did a small set that we do as like a gift with purchase on our online store with the purchase of hockey cards. So that's we've done that a few times over the years, and I think I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure they're just about ready. So they should hopefully start shipping soon.
Cool. Well, thanks for answering John's question. Billy Celio, someone you know well, says, time for the hard questions. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Eagles next season? Wayne Fraser says Ron Jaworski. You want to throw your guess out there, and then we'll move on.
Oh, man. I think I think they're going to give Jalen Hurts a shot. I do. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. That's a great question. Oh, Billy.
Billy, right?
It's one of those things where I'm from Philly. I'm talking to you from Philly, and I love my teams, and everything they say about us for the most part is pretty true. I can already tell you that 2026 is when Carson Wentz will be coming back to play here at the Link. I already know that. How bad is that? That we already know that.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be Jalen Hurts, and I'm willing to give him a shot. He's got tremendous talent. I think with a new coach, a new system, I'm excited to see what he can do. My only thing on that subject that I'm really, really adamant about, for whatever reason, the Eagles try to get cute during draft day. They need to draft a wide receiver. They have to do that, and they've not been very good at it. But there's a couple guys at the top of this draft that you don't have to be an expert to know. You got to draft one of these guys.
Got to grab one of them. All right.
So that's Jalen Hurts is the answer.
All right. Very good. Very good. Daniel A., welcome to the show. Good evening. We got Amit from Cardboard Cultures joining us. Good evening to you. All right. Another question from Ken. He says, with the unprecedented demand for trading cards, what is your view on production? Create more brands or make more of the same to meet demand?
Good question, Ken. I'm curious what he would want us to do. He's selling a lot of it. No, it's a great question. All kidding aside, Ken, it's it depends on the brand. Honestly, one of the challenges in today's in today's sort of hobby marketplace is that some of these brands that we make, some of our, and this isn't just us. This is Topps, Panini, all the manufacturers. Because what we call we call them buyouts. Things like autographs, game used, these assets that we have to bring in. There's a finite amount of all that stuff. It's not an endless supply. And we're already pushing the limits with what we do now. So, like the cup is a perfect example. I could sell a lot more cup. I can't make more cup. It's just, it's based on the way it's built. You just can't. So there's certain brands where you're, for lack of a better term, you're kind of capped. You're limited at what you can do. And unfortunately, more and more brands are fitting that. But then you have other brands where they're built where you have that flexibility, where you can create more product, and there's more flexibility in the product to enable you to do so. So I think it's probably a combination of both, to be honest with you. The thing that you have to keep in mind, though, it sounds easy to add brands, but at the end of the day, and Synergy is a good example, it takes our team just as much time to work Synergy through the system as it does SP Authentic or Upper Deck Series 1. The same amount of work goes into all those photo select. All of that stuff. So the more you put in there, the more resources you need to get all that work done. The more time you need with the printer and it to enable to get the product printed. There's a lot of factors that you don't think of. So it's not that easy to just add brands. It really isn't. It's a challenge. So it's a fine.
So it's a balancing act for the most part then, yeah? Okay. Absolutely. Let's keep on going. I'm going to read this one here. Mike says, I feel like with Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar being rookie defensemen in 1920, it helped the sales of good defensemen all around. I've been of that sort of the same mindset that these guys might help bring in, and Miro Heiskanen in Dallas, they might help bring more attention to the defensemen within the hobby. What do you think?
And you're also talking about, games changed obviously quite a bit, and you're talking about offensive defensemen where, when guys are putting up points, it inherently makes it more collectible. That's just how it works. So I would agree with that. There's some great defensemen in the league, but if they're not putting up points, I tend to think that they wouldn't be as collectible. Hughes and Makar are they're I don't know if they're generational players, but they're darn close. And their special players are quick, and they're not like those big hulking defensemen that you used to think of. So I didn't mean to offend any defensemen, but I agree. I think they have, and I'm hopeful that that'd be great if defensemen got their fair due in the hobby for sure.
Yeah, you just have to be stay-at-home defenseman probably never will, but the offensive defenseman, there's a good shot. I think they deserve more hobby love than they get. Okay, great. Let's go on. Let's talk about a new product that you guys just announced yesterday. Wayne Fraser asks a question. He says, any chance of a rookie update style catch-all? That was a fun product. Well, what can you tell us, Mike, about the upcoming release of a product called Upper Deck Extended?
Yeah, it's super. Yeah, we announced it actually late Thursday night, and it's been something that's been in the works. So this year, I don't need to tell you or your listeners, unprecedented year, obviously, in many, many different ways, but certainly the hockey season, right? We've had a shortened season. We had, a season that started in January. And not only does it throw off what we're used to, but from a card standpoint, it throws off our whole cadence and sort of how we schedule things out. So what I mean by that is, in a typical year, you'll have UD1 comes out the beginning of November, and it'll have rookies who skated in the first couple weeks of the season. We literally have like a week or two. We get, then we have to cut it off because we got to get into production and hustle and get those rookies done. And so this year, we were able to get an exception for Alexei. He was our new spokesman, but everybody else was a carryover rookie. Series 2 is where you're going to have a lot of the guys who skated in those first two weeks of this season. But okay, 2 weeks into the season, not even maybe 10 days, 2 weeks in the season, it's still towards the end of January. That's it. Usually your Series 2 comes out. Young Guns, for the most part, are done. We'll pepper a little bit in here or there and some other brands. We're looking at that. We're like, wait a minute, though. Like, we still have like half the season to go here. We have, we only had literally 2 weeks of skating time. So we thought, what better way to sort of mitigate some of that than do a third series of Upper Deck. We didn't want to call it Upper Deck Series 3. It just didn't sound right. So we called it Upper Deck Extended. There'll be I believe it's 25 more Young Guns in this series. They will feature guys who skated between the cutoff date of Series 2, which I don't know the exact date, but it was about 10 days to 2 weeks into the season, give or take, and a week ago yesterday, so the 12th. And there's a couple, I think Arthur Kaliev will be probably the marquee name for that group, and some other guys who skate in there. So it's going to enable us to get some more guys in. February 12th will be that cutoff date. That's a cutoff date, and we can talk about that later if you want. But as it pertains to extended, we'll have the new Young Guns. We'll have some other base cards. But the beauty of this product is we are going to bring back all of the rookies that are featured in 2021 product, including Alexis Lafreniere, in a host of legacy Upper Deck brands we have not done in a long time. Brands like, depends on who you talk to, they call it UD3 or UD cubed, holographics, triple dimensions, pros and prospects, SPX finite, brands that, you talk about brands that went away. These were all tough decisions, but went away a while ago. We're going to reimagine those, create new designs, and present a whole slew of new rookie cards for these guys in this product. So it's going to be, and varying levels of scarcity and serial numbering and parallels. It is going to be unlike any sort of Upper Deck Series base product that we've ever seen. Same configuration as UD1, UD2, same offerings, hobby and retail. But it should be out in mid to late June is what we're targeting.
All right. Well,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Here you go. I'll just put it on the ticker right now. Upper Deck Extended Series coming in June 2021. I'm excited to see a lot of these legacy brands coming back and what you do, reimagining some of those. I can see them being interesting and collectible. Okay.
And I will tell you, Jeremy, if I could interrupt you for a sec, we'll have imagery. I was hoping to have imagery before we were on tonight that I could share with you, but it didn't get through the pipeline quick enough. So we should hopefully have some of that next week, so you can get a look at some of those brands we're talking about.
All right. Well, we've got some comments coming in. Mike Zier says, so it's like Chronicles for Hockey, outstanding. He hopes it's on ePack. Andy Cap says, sounds like an amazing product. Wayne's happy to hear it. My Flames are now down 3-1 thanks to Connor McDavid.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, it's good for the hobby when Connor McDavid scores, right? I understand that for sure. Okay. Greg Cohn from Leaf says, is Upper Deck going to try and revive Carvin's bass fishing product? This must be an inside joke between you card company folks.
Yes. There are a lot of Upper Deck alumni out there. We all have good sense of humor. That's pretty funny.
That is pretty okay.
I forgot about that.
Mike from Eastridge Sports Car says, what has been the biggest flop product in your time at Upper Deck?
Oh boy. Our biggest flop product.
Put it on the back burner if you want.
Yeah, let's put that on the back burner. Thanks, Mike. That's a tough one. I'll have to go back and I'll have to think about that one a little bit. Well, look, like anybody else, we've had some rough ones, but thankfully nothing that I could point to recently, at least in my opinion.
Well, hey, put it on the back burner. If something pops in your mind, let us know. Okay, here's a question from Nick, and I like this one. He says, do you know if Upper Deck has ever considered adding some more numbered parallels to the popular Young Gun sets, in addition to high gloss and exclusive and the clear cuts? Anything else ever been bantered about?
Bantered about a lot. Yes. And one thing, we were very, and this is a fortunate thing, our team is very passionate about what we do. And we're very also protective of what we have, what we've built. And Young Guns, I would say, is very high on that list. And we're not averse to trying things, but at the same time, we don't want to, overdo it. So we're real careful. If there's a compelling way to do it, we'll give it thought and we'll consider it. But I think, and you mentioned some of the things that we do there. We're pretty protective of Young Guns. We don't want to overexpose it, and it is at that point where I think you could call it an iconic a set as it relates to the pantheon of sets in our hobby. I don't know. I'm not saying no. We talk about it a lot, but it would have to be something pretty compelling. I don't think we would just throw it out there just with, let's say different colors or, anything like that. But, if the right thing came along, we would definitely consider it.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I'm going to throw this one up from Rich. He's talking about card backs. How much time and cost would you save if you eliminated the base card, the back of the base card? Now, we're not going to get into that because you're not going to do that. But I do want to ask you this. Is it a legal requirement for Upper Deck to put the word congratulations on the back of every card that has a relic or an autograph on it? And if it is not legal, can you stop?
It is not a legal requirement. No. That's funny. Correct me if I'm wrong. Going back here a little ways, but I think we were probably the first to do that. I think with back way back in the 90s.
When it was really hard to get a relic or an autograph out of a pack.
Yeah, and it was, and I'll tell you, so it was something that we did, and for many years, and it was Richard McWilliams' name, obviously the founder of the company, and and that was just something that I don't know that if it was ever even thought about with regard to not doing that. And when he passed several years ago, we had a lot of conversations about what to do about that. That's not an easy or a thing to take lightly. And we decided, the best way to honor Richard was to do it how we do it now, which is, utilizing his name with his family, who still carry on the torch and own the company to this day. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that's the reason why we do it.
All right. Well, my issue with it, and is that we pay good money for the product. We don't need a congrat. It's like every time I go put gas in my car, the attendant does go, "Congratulations, you filled the car with gas. Congratulations, you got a basket of groceries for your family. Congratulations, you got a card." It's a little, to me, it's just it's almost like poking fun at the customer sometimes, especially when you're congratulating them for a card that is of very little value, or you knew you were getting one out of the box or out of the pack. But anyway, I leave that with you. It's just my own personal thing.
It's a fair question. Good point.
So let's get into a touchier topic for a few minutes. I want to talk about quality control with you now. There's been a few issues recently. Even going back to the Nathan McKinnon Young Gun with the pink shoulder, when I know that very soon after, I remember Chris Carlin at the Expo kind of handling that, and you guys replaced those. This year we had the rounded corner issue with the Alexis Lafreniere Young Guns. I think a lot of people weren't happy with that. I think they want to understand maybe why it happened. why it happened, and what you guys are planning to do in response.
So one thing, Jeremy, you're going to hear me say this a lot, and I apologize, but it's just I speak the truth, and in saying that, the people I work with, myself included, we take a lot of pride in what we do. And when things like a quality control issue happen, we take it very seriously. We take it very personally. And, we're a lot of us are collectors, and we're collectors at heart, and we take a lot of pride. And this stuff gets at it. It bothers us. It really does when this stuff happens. And so I think it's important for everybody to know that. That comes from the heart. It really does. We're not just doing this because it's our job and we go home and we don't think about it. It's not true. We know how important and how personal collecting is to people. And when something like this happens, we do everything in our power to make sure that we fix it. One of the challenges that we all have right now is getting through many, many different things that relate to this pandemic. And specifically as that relates to Upper Deck Series 1, it's changed so many things just in our little industry, not the least of which is the production of our cards. And, getting cards produced has never been more challenging than it is today. Why is that? Well, think about what we're talking about. We're talking about factories where people are in close proximity. We're talking about people getting people to come to work at every day. You're talking about challenges of COVID outbreaks, and we're talking about limits in the amount of people that can come in the building. So maybe you have, a person every couple feet. Now they have to be 6 feet apart. What does that makes the output a lot slower. There's so many different things that you would never think of. And, it's been a challenge. And one of those challenges is we can't go and have that oversight of our production facilities that we normally would. We just can't. And some things, unfortunately have gotten through or have happened that probably in other times wouldn't have happened. And that's not an excuse. It's not, well, it's a reason. It's not a great excuse, but it's for real. And on that particular issue, we caught it, and we were able to address it, and we'll continue to address it. And our customer care department will take care of it. It's a nuisance. It's a hassle. But for our collectors, not just us, for collectors, I get it, and I'm sorry for it. But at the end of the day, we'll make it right. And we do, every box that we make, there's a number printed on the inside of that box, and that number pertains to it's a lot of important information in that number. It pertains to the shift that particular box was made, the line that it was made on, and it can tell us a lot. So when our customer care group, when you're interacting with them and they ask you for something like that, that's why. So we can figure out and isolate the problem. And for that one in particular, we figured out what it was, why it happened. And, and I feel really confident that has been addressed. So then we get into Series 2 and extended, like we just talked about, those things will be rectified.
How will you make it right?
We'll replace them. We'll replace them. If someone has cards like, that's, I've seen them. It's not right. They shouldn't be like that. Although who knows, in this crazy hobby, maybe those will end up being worth more money down the road. Who knows? I don't know.
I've made a joke about it. It's just a die cut, right? It's just a new die cut.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Much stranger things have happened. But but at the end of the day, all kidding aside, we'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Really good to hear. I hope people are happy to hear that you guys will be able to exchange them out for mint condition or for sharp corner type of copies. I want to segue this discussion into Ken's comment here. He says, "What are the current challenges that all trading card companies are facing that are leading to delays in product releases?"
Yeah, and that's what I was just touching on. It's primarily a vendor issue that all of the manufacturers, if you notice, all the manufacturers are having trouble with release dates. They're moving, and sometimes they move a week before the release date. And it's being Target right now like I've never seen. And then look at what just happened down in Texas. A good percentage of trading card products are made at a facility in Texas. And what's going on in Texas the past week is catastrophic. Forget about what's happening with trading cards, the humanitarian issue. I mean, it's a terrible situation. And that's inevitably going to set us and the other manufacturers back now on top of what we were already facing, because that factory's been closed for the week and they're not opening until, from what I understand, probably Monday. So that's just one thing in a long line of issues. But the things that COVID protocols have thrown in the mix here, and the challenges that it's presented. And don't forget, the cards get finished at a factory like the one I'm referring to in Dallas, but oftentimes specialty cards get printed in other places, and God forbid somebody tests positive, they got to close that place down and you get delayed. And we've had a lot of that, more than you can imagine, at all these different places. There's shipping issues, galore now with FedEx and UPS and other carriers that are delaying things. When with quarantines, players were scattered all over the place, so getting autographs took a lot longer than maybe it would have before. So there's just myriad challenges, that many of which we've never faced before. But we deal with it and we're doing the best we can. But I can tell you right now that this year is going to be unique in a lot of ways, but there will be 2021 hockey products coming out throughout the calendar year for sure. And maybe even into next year, like we had this year.
Question about the Lafreniere rookies again, though. If somebody doesn't still have their box with that number on it, and they do have one of these rounded corner copies, are they going to be eligible for an exchange?
It's a great.
Most people, I don't know if a lot of people really keep those boxes, right?
I don't know for sure. I would like to think a lot of people who've been collecting Upper Deck know that protocol at this point. I'm sure there are some who don't. It's a good question. I mean, our customer care team wants to help take care of everybody we can. So my guess is that we'll do the best we can. I would pose that question in your chat. I'm hopeful that we have some people that are taking a look there that can answer individually and try to get to the bottom of it. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly if I can answer that correctly or not. We're pretty strict in how we do that. But this is a pretty unprecedented situation with these young guns. So, we may be able to make exceptions with regard to that. I'm not sure.
Okay, no, fair, and I appreciate your candid honesty as well.
Yeah, I don't want to mislead your listeners, so I'm not positive of that.
Yeah,
but
I appreciate that.
We do require, for help through our customer service, we do require documentate a receipt or something that proves that you bought it from an authorized source.
Right. Okay, fair. What can you tell us about the artifacts collation issues that I personally didn't open any, so I didn't experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
But I know that I'd read on Hobby Insider and elsewhere that there were issues with that. What can you tell us about that, and what your reaction was to it? Again,
this kind of stuff it keeps me awake at night when this kind of stuff happens. It's just like I said, you work a year and more on a product, and all these people have their hands in it, and you get excited about finally releasing it to the collecting world, and there are issues, and unfortunately it's the exception, not the norm. And artifacts is one where we had an issue. It wasn't an issue on the case level, but it was an issue on the box level where the collation was off. Again, very specific to a certain shift and line that we were able to identify because of the codes and the help of collectors who brought it to our attention. But it really comes down to, again, I feel very confident that's one of those things that we may have been able to catch or someone would have been able to catch if it were normal times, let's call it, where you have the same sort of level of the amount of people working on the product and on the line and supervision and things like that. It's just
and access, right? Just access.
Access more than anything. Yeah, we're not allowed to go in and press checks. We're just not allowed.
Yeah. The times we're in. So hopefully it's a one and done. And, because of the lack of access, next year you'll have it and you can go or even in any subsequent product. Hopefully you can catch it next time. I think that's a fair answer. I really do. I mean, it's unfortunate, but these things, like you said, it's an awkward year overall. Dr. Full here says, mistakes happen. If you can quickly correct them, then that's fine. And I think there's merit to that, but the word quickly is pretty important there. People get, and especially in our hobby, us collectors, we can get pretty antsy and impatient, never mind critical, so.
Yeah. And that's a great point. It's relevant to the Young Guns issue that we were talking about earlier. And I know we just recently got the replacement cards in, but think about what I was talking about. So you need, you're not planning for what happened to happen. So when you find out about a problem like that, you dig into it, and then of course to gauge the scope of it, and then like in the instance of like the Young Guns from Series 1, you gotta print those, right? So we didn't, so then to do that, you need to find the time where you could go up on press. I just told you about the mess that the vendors are right now. So you got to find time to go and make those cards. So it's not something that's very easy to do. And unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time. I'm pretty proud of our team, quite frankly, at how quickly we were able to do this and address the Young Guns issue. But it's and then on top of that, keep in mind, we're in. I'm not in the. I work from a home office, but our team in California, they're not allowed. We're not allowed to have our staff in the office to any sort of capacity. So our customer service team is all working from home for the most part. We're people are out. We're training new people. Try training someone new when you can't be in front of them, right? So there are all those challenges. So they've all added to delays. I will tell you that we are staffing up even more on the customer care side of our business. I think our team is the best in the biz. They're doing an awesome job, and they're only going to get better as we add people. So we're always striving to be better.
Yeah,
so, and we will.
I like to hear that. There was a comment here I want to just share. I thought it was a nice comment. And I just can't find it right now, but that's okay. I'm going to go to, I'll come back to, I've been talking to StreamYard, who runs this studio software I use, saying you got to make comment management a little bit more straightforward, a little more streamlined. But here's a comment from, it's Mike at Eastridge. I like this one. He says, are we going to see a Legends heavy set anytime soon, like 0607 and 1112 Parkhurst?
Yes.
Yes. There we go.
How's that for a nice short and sweet answer? Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
All kidding aside, that is in the works. Yes, and okay. We work super closely with NHL Alumni Association. Great partner of ours, and yeah, we are. It was a lot of fun doing the first series of Chronology also, and yeah, we enjoy doing those products. They're a lot of fun, and it's also fun to do cards of guys who maybe never had a card or had very few cards. It's just some cool things we could do there. But yeah, they are absolutely in the plans. We can't do them too often because it's a very I don't know if I call it a niche product, but it's a very specific product, a very specific collector that appreciates those. So you can only do it every so often. So we're careful not to overdo it and kill it.
Okay, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Charles Murphy, this is the comment I was looking for. It says, listening to Mike gives me a lot of faith in Upper Deck. Us Philly guys shoot straight. Shoot straight. And then a compliment to me. I do a great job. Thank you so much, Charles Murphy. Appreciate that very much. Andy Mack, I like this, says, about 20 years ago, I returned a $5 Gretzky CD to Upper Deck and received an Or How autograph CD out of 150. No complaints here. Love the Upper Deck. Love the Upper Deck. Thanks. That's very nice of you, Andy Mack.
Nice.
Okay. I want to talk about integrity of patch cards, in specific RPAs, rookie patch autos, because it's an important thing. And as you're probably well aware, I know you're well aware, there's a lot of fake patches that have made their way into the market. A lot of people attribute it to some guy named Kenny in Ontario. That's all I know. Kenny in Ontario. How, and as you know, I've been very vocal about fake patches over the years. I even was at the pack out at your facility, North Carolina, in 2009, and I captured images of all the patches that went into that product. So I proved it can be done. How seriously do you guys at Upper Deck take the integrity of these RPAs as the years go by and they become more and more valuable and important and further away from being reflected on your financial statements, right? How important is that to you guys? And is there anything in the works to either document these patches so people have a reference for authenticity and security, and just knowing that if they're going to buy a card, maybe they can check it against an archive or some sort of reference? What are your thoughts on this on behalf of Upper Deck?
Yeah, it's a really important issue. Absolutely. And it's important to us 100%. And I know how passionate you are. And I really appreciate anytime someone, especially with the influence you have, shares that passion and really is sort of for lack of a better term, a soldier for that issue. And I think it's something we don't take lightly. And I got to be honest with you, I've been at Upper Deck 21 years. I've never been to a cup pack out. So you have something on me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I hear they're exhausting though. It sounds like a glamorous thing, but it's exhausting.
It was
yeah, I understand and I agree with you. And it seems like something that would be relatively simple to rectify. And it's a little bit more complicated than it sounds like on the surface. I'm pretty sure, and again, this is probably a little bit more for the product development side of the business, but I'm pretty sure we do document the RPAs to 99, the 6 guys that we have in that group each year. I forgive me, I don't know where that is stored. We like to show it. Sometimes the problem is when we do that, we notice, maybe like a damage or something, and it there's lots of things that that we have to take into account when we're doing this, and it doesn't hit our quality threshold for pack out. But I can tell you this, I did a little bit of legwork because I know how passionate you are about this issue, and I knew I was coming on here, and I can tell you this. We are working on something, a technology that is it's going to revolutionize things. It really is, and I'm not saying that for drama. It's freaking super cool, and it's going to, I believe, it is going to really address the issue that you bring up, because it's a real issue, and just because that's something that happens after we've been paid for the product. And, I don't want anybody to think we notice those things. We do. We monitor those things and we don't take them lightly. And if it's something that is causing an issue and is harming people who are advocates and fans of our product, then of course we're going to address it. It's a little challenging to ultimately do the things that really need to happen there to fix it. But I'm super psyched if we can get done what we're working on, and I really am confident that we will. I think you're going to be very impressed. I know I'm being cryptic, but I promise you we are working on it. It's something that will change the way these sort of things are handled.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear that number one, you looked into it before coming on today, and that you guys do have something in the works. So myself and the hobby will be watching closely to see what that looks like, because there's a lot of I don't want to just bring it to money, but there's a lot of money at stake, that a lot of people have tied up.
And it's only going to get, as our industry thrives like it is now and continues to grow. Look, unfortunately, when more and more money is out there to be made, more and more of the scammers come out, and it's just unfortunate. That goes for any business, but we just have to try the best we can to keep up with them and deter them. And this one is a challenge, but it's one that we're not going to shy away from. We will get it. We will get it.
Okay, well, that's very nice to hear. I just want to point out to everybody, Chris Carlin is in the chat right now under the username Nerf Liberty. So he may be responding. So if he works at Upper Deck, in case anybody doesn't know. So if he's responding in the chat, pay attention to what he's saying. He speaks for Upper Deck. Okay. I want to go to the next topic on my list, which has to do with expired redemptions, because as you can imagine, people don't like it, especially when you open a product after the expiration date has passed, and now those may sit on shelves for longer. People may have invested in them and put them away, and now their values may not be where they would otherwise be if those redemptions did not expire. So what I want to hear from you, Mike, is why do they expire? And is that, is there any, especially this year with with all the delays we're seeing, and especially because I imagine there may be more redemptions than we've had in prior years, simply because, and this is just me speculating, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in the event there are going to be redemptions this year, and specifically, are there any sort of plans? Have you guys discussed at all the strategy around them, perhaps extending that expiry date out a little bit longer so that unopened product can retain its value for even longer?
Yeah, one of the toughest subjects we face in our industry, in my opinion. One of the most polarizing topics for sure. And quite frankly, one of our biggest challenges as a company, year in and year out. It is what, for lack of a better term, a necessary evil in many cases. We despise redemptions. We really do. We for a lot of reasons. It's a terrible customer experience, first and foremost. When you because when I open a pack, I always kind of fan it. Like I'm a collector. I like to prolong the card pack opening experience. And when I see that white cardboard in there and not a decoy card, I know it's a redemption. I'm like, so I'm just like every one of you guys. I do not like seeing those. The second reason we don't like them is they are expensive for us to fulfill. And that's something that most people don't know. But when you factor in all of our costs, and don't forget, we're fulfilling those things from the US, and, being, as vested in the hockey trading card market as we are, a lot of our redemptions have to get sent to Canada, which is a lot more expensive. So I think the number is, it costs us like $20 a piece or something like that. Every time we have to fulfill one of those, it's expensive. And so that's another reason. It takes up a lot of manpower. There's someone that's a full-time job. So, I mean, there are all sorts of reasons that we just despise them. But the reality is, and some of the reasons, and I told you from the outset, one guy commented, I'm a Philly guy. You may not like what I have to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth. There are some legalities involved with regard to these redemptions that I can't get into, that dictate what we do. The end of the day, we spend a lot of time discussing what we can do to try to soften that bad experience. One thing that we do, which I don't know how many of your listeners know this, and we don't openly promote it, but we have a 1 year grace period. We'll, if you call in, or if you call into our customer care, we typically will work with you and fulfill that card up to a year after it actually expires. So that's one thing that we do. With autograph redemptions, and I say autograph redemptions because not for, like, we don't do this for like artifacts, draft redemptions, and things like that. But right. We do what we call an expired redemption. It's kind of like a raffle, I guess, for lack of a better term, where and we do them a lot when we're in the times we're able to be at shows. People send them in, and generally, I believe that everyone who sends something in gets something in return. So that you're not left with getting nothing. Like in many cases, when you have an expired redemption, you're out of luck. And that is a tremendously, tremendously popular thing that we do. And the ironic thing is, in a lot of those prizes that we give are things that expired from years ago. But the fact of the matter is, we cannot, from a legal standpoint, we have restraints. We can't store these cards. I mean, we've been in business 30 years. We can't store those in perpetuity. There's just no way. The amount, the space, the catalog. I mean, there's just so many reasons logistically that we couldn't do that. But and honestly, just to backtrack a little bit, we've talked about things that maybe we could do to notify consumers. And in today's connected world, most people know that if they're buying a box of this, oh, the key rookie in that product is a redemption. You got to know that going in, and that information is out there. I'd love to be able to tell you we'd like to print on a box who a redemption is, but the fact is, we wait until the last second to try to get cards in, and we print the boxes way before then. So that's not logistically possible. But we've looked at this from every angle. Have we? Is there a better answer out there? Maybe. We'll keep trying, and we'll keep looking, and we'll keep searching for something better. But right now, by having that grace period, by doing the expired redemption, we do as much as we can to try to soften that experience. But at the end of the day, and I will tell you, you something you said earlier. I'm really psyched because the level of redemptions that we've had lately has been very low, and I'm hopeful that your listeners have seen that. We're very proud. A lot of products recently have had 0 redemptions, so we're very, very cognizant of. We can always do better, but we're super cognizant of the issue, and we're continuing to try to fix it.
Well, I can corroborate that you wait till the last minute for certain autographs to come back before you pack them out. Because when I was at the pack out for the Cup, I remember Carvin coming into the room one time. Hey, we got I think it was the Malkins or the Kopitars. We got the Malkins. We got the Kopitars. Like, let's find those redemption cards and put them in the garbage, and let's see these cards into the product. And so, yeah, you obviously cannot print that on the box. That would just not be a logistical possibility. I completely understand that. On a more positive, and I want to bring up Rich's comment here. It's very nice. Honestly, I'm just happy to have hockey cards this year. Thanks, Mike and Upper Deck team, for working hard to get around all these unforeseen issues brought forth by the pandemic. That's just a nice comment. And then Amit asked this question: with respect to the Lafrenières, how would you handle the issues where people graded the cards with rounded corners? I feel like I can answer this one for you, Mike. If you graded it, crack it out and ask for an exchange if you want. Like, why would you grade the card though? Would be my question. Unless you didn't care and you were happy to have it. But
well, the question on that one, Jeremy, is what if we never correct? What if they were all like that? How would they grade them if that was the way that every single card was?
I've looked at those rounded corners under a loop, and they are perfectly rounded, and they're not. When we think of rounded corners on a card, you think of natural rounding. It's a very clean cut. It almost looks like a die cut, but we all know it's not supposed to be there. So if they were all like that, I think the corners would be fine, because if you look at those under the loop, they're very cleanly cut on that angle. But anyway, they're not all going to be like that, so we don't have to speculate on that, and who knows where we would get to. But okay. Joe Pro, very impressive representation of Upper Deck. Could Mike elaborate a bit more on the soon-to-be released Michael Jordan?
Yeah, so we have a new. I don't know how familiar your viewers are of the Upper Deck authenticated line we have called The Show. It's one of my personal favorite pieces. What we do is when we're doing the signing with the athlete, we give them it's a long rectangular piece of I think it's called archival paper. It's like an artwork quality paper, and we put it in front of them. There's nothing on it. It's a blank piece of paper, and we give them like a charcoal, almost like a crayon, and we ask them to sign as big as they can. And they sign huge on one side. And what we do then is we have an overlay that goes over. Clear plastic overlay with an image of the player, so it looks like they're floating above the paper when we frame it all up. Cool products called The Show, and all of our spokesmen have a piece that's called a show piece, and some of them have multiples. And we've done a couple of MJ, but the one we have coming out next week is commemorates his 6 championships, kind of playing off the after the popularity of The Last Dance. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. So I know we do have that in addition to a couple of other pieces. I think we have a new piece coming out that features a piece of game use floor that MJ signed on. Really just spectacular museum quality pieces.
All right, there you go to Joe, my man in Santa Cruz, California. All right, here's a question from Hockey Guy, and then we're going to move on to something else. This question, I think it's a good question right now. It's timely. What do you say or show to people that are saying kids are being priced out, are becoming much more smaller segment of the hobby? What is Upper Deck doing to get more kids interested? And I have to add to this question, because you guys, I mean, I think you do a phenomenal job with the Tim Hortons product up here in Canada. That is a kid, $1.99 a pack or 99 cents, whatever it is, for 3 or 4 or 5 cards. I don't know. I didn't open any this year.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It's not up my alley, Mike. But hey, I'm not your target market for that. But let me ask you this. Are the kids your target market for this? Specific to this question from Hockey Guy 2006, who also goes by Chris, what do you know, how seriously or how closely does Upper Deck look at the kids segment of the hobby in an effort to, keep them around when they get older? We're thinking 20, 30 years out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely. And I think it's a great question. And we do take it seriously, because at the end of the day, we need to continuously cultivate new collectors. We do a lot. And I think, Jeremy, you answered the question partly for me. I mean, one of the things that I love about Upper Deck is we're constantly looking for ways to get cards in front of people. And, we do that very effectively by partnering with companies that have a much different reach than we do. Tim Hortons is a perfect example. I mean, I don't live in Canada, but I'm smart enough to know that most Canadians go to Tim Hortons every morning to get their coffee, right? So what a better place to have to expose people to cards than a Tim Hortons. And getting them in their hands at a low barrier of entry, like you said, $1.99. It gets them in their hands, and then it encourages them to trade. I mean, one of the greatest things about the Tim Hortons program is just this proliferation of trade nights everywhere for Tim Hortons cards. It's fantastic. And I believe very strongly that it's just cultivated this unbelievable new generation of card collectors. I have no doubt. But Tim Hortons aside, we are always looking at ways we can partner with other companies to expose people to trading cards. We do. You mentioned something before, the Haynes promotion we did with MJ. What an unbelievable success beyond what we ever. I mean, there were people going in, of course, and running in and buying whole displays of underwear, which is just hilarious. Now, those people maybe weren't the people we ultimately wanted to, because those were just people who are looking to flip the cards. But man, oh man, we never in our wildest dreams would have thought that thing sold through a lot quicker than we expected. We, I don't know, many of your listeners and your viewers may not know this. We did a promotion where we had trading cards packaged in Marvel. We have the trading card license for Marvel and Marvel movies and Marvel publishing products. We package trading cards in DVDs. We try to do. We did McDonald's obviously for many years. Anytime we can get cards in people's hands that are not necessarily those hardcore collectors already, is just bringing in a new percentage of people into our great hobby. And we're going to always look for those different ways to do that. And then with regard to the being priced out of the hobby, that's back to what we talked about earlier. One of the nice things about being the exclusive provider of hockey cards is it enables us to invest at so many different price points. So we can create products that are entry-level products. And then we can, like an MVP or a Parkhurst O-Pee-Chee, and then have products that are, at a higher price point for a different segment of the market. I do always have to throw in the fact that one thing we find when we do research on this is, at the end of the day, as kids want what adults are collecting.
Exactly.
That's what they want, right? And they're savvy these days, more than ever, and they don't want something that's necessarily made for a kid. They want the stuff that the adults are collecting. So, we also have to keep that in mind. But we'll never stop trying to bring new people into the hobby at whatever age, but most certainly kids.
Well, I think you do a good job at it. And I mean, it's not like a kid can, who has a part-time job is going out and buying a Ferrari as their first car. You maybe can't afford to buy the Cup as your first pack of cards either, or anything, $100 packs. So, I mean, but what I do, you made a great point. Kids want what the adults want and have too. So in a way, it might motivate them to get out there and get a career, make some money, or just flip their way up the sports card ladder or chain, if you will.
Can I add one point to that? I think it's important. One thing, I don't know, down here in the U.S., you wander into Walmart or Target, you can't find sports cards.
Yeah,
and it's just because everything is just so insane right now. And I assume that you find the same thing probably in Walmarts and other stores up in Canada. And while that's great for when you look at sell-through data, and it looks great on paper, there are some things about it that are not great. And the biggest one of those is, when a kid or when a mom or dad is going in and wanting to buy something for their kid, there's nothing there, and that's a problem. Because that is one of the things, and I know it's more relevant to today, and it won't be like this forever, but I fear that kids are not getting access to cards because they're just getting scooped up so quickly off of the retail shelves that they're not there for these kids to try out. It's a short-term problem, I know, but it's a problem right now. And I just hope that doesn't come back to bite us someday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm sorry, I'm just snickering. I'm seeing some comments that just kind of make me shake my head sometimes, like this one here from Kickdown. Pay the players less every day they're running late on returning autographs. So that's a great way to never get a player to sign a deal with you ever again. Is that?
It's a great way to have the Players Association also want to never have anything to do with us. That way we wouldn't go over to an agent to never want to deal with Upper Deck ever again. Yeah,
exactly. There was another comment. Someone's Donnie here. Just stop having redemptions. Like a lot of collectors just, and this is just it's just ignorance, right? It's just not understanding the processes and the processes in putting out a product. So, we're not going to. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time explaining why redemptions exist. I think the hobby understands that there is a requirement for them. Well, not a requirement, but without them, what are the alternatives? Maybe don't do them and just always have them as additions to future year products. Like, is that something you guys have considered?
I mean, we're always looking at ways to try to mitigate redemptions. The biggest issue is, a couple things. You take a guy out, you wait until that deadline. I can't substitute someone else in that spot, so there's a hole in the set, right? That's one of the things. And then when we eventually, if there are times where we will hold guys out and put them in something else. A lot of times you'll see that from us. Some people like it, some people don't care for it, but what we do is when we get something in after the cutoff date, we'll put it in a different product as a live autograph rather than put it in a redemption into a product. So you may see something from another brand show up as one of your autograph hits in something down the road. That's because we wanted to release the card. We felt it was an important enough card that it should be released as a live card. Just put it in another brand. It's not our favorite thing to do, but I'd rather do that in some instances. It's if we could do away with redemptions completely, we would, but sometimes they are just a necessary evil in some instances.
Yeah. And like you said, you don't like them. They cost you a lot of money to fulfill. But it is, okay, let's keep on going. I think the redemptions topic has been we're beating a dead horse, which has been being beaten for 10 years now. Okay. I knew this was going to come up, Mike. I knew you even knew this question was going to come up. Amit wants to know, for a Philly guy, you got Lakers hanging on your wall.
Yeah, so I can explain that. I did expect that. I got that Kobe piece behind me is this, obviously is a special piece. Kobe was our spokesman for many years, and I've got MJ over my other shoulder there too. And the Magic Johnson piece, I just loved how these two look together. They're both canvases, and yes, I do have to up my what we call our Zoom background game. I probably could be a little bit more representative of my home team, but I do like those pieces a lot. I have to say. So I'm not a Laker fan. I didn't put that up because they won, but I just like how they look. That's all.
All right, let's keep going.
I admittedly I have much better things to put up, but I just like how those look there.
They look nice, man, and you can't go wrong with Kobe. No one's gonna knock you for having Kobe hanging in your office. All right, Darcy wants to know any chance in bringing back Sweet Shot Hockey and Parkhurst Champions, and he also wants you to get an NBA license back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, can't really say not much I could say about the NBA license. We are, I will say we're a proud partner of the NBA on the Upper Deck Authenticated side of our business. It enables us to do some really cool things over there. With regard to those brands, I would never say never. I mean, those are always things that we banner about. Parkhurst, we do the Parkhurst brand. We do that as a retail primary product. But and then Sweet Shot, we play around with the Sweet Shot brand here and there. We borrow some things from that in different inserts, programs, and other products and things. Like we talked about, we're doing this extended series. You never know if it's a brand that is successful, and I truly believe it's going to be a hit. It'll be something we add to our stable as an annual release, and you never know. We'll mix and match some different brands in there and see what sticks.
Okay, there you go, Darce. Good stuff. Thank you, Mike. Jordan Hagedorn pipes in, says very excited for some upcoming stuff in the design arena from Upper Deck. Would love to collab with you guys in the near future. Keep up the good work. Jordan Hagedorn is he's an NFL agent. He's got a few people there. So if you're not aware, maybe you could do some collabing with him. And then, of course, everyone wants to let me know that Connor McDavid has scored a hat trick against my Calgary Flames, and he has 5 points. Sorry, Jeremy, that's okay. You know what? It's a silver lining for me when the main guy in our hockey card hobby has a 5-point night.
And that's our guy. That's our spokesman. So,
I know, that's our biggest rival are the Edmonton Oilers, which, hey, we usually do pretty well against them. But when McDavid when he lets loose, he's tough to beat. He can walk around everybody.
Let me tell you something, Jeremy. When we were watching the draft lottery last summer, and we knew we had already had our deal in place with Alexi, and the Rangers won the draft lottery. I had very mixed emotions, my friend. I'm a Flyers fan, so I really struggled with that. But at the end of the day, the Rangers and the Penguins, tough. But I root for Alexi, and he had a goal today, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But any other, that's about the limit. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I know, man. I thought the Rangers were a good place for him to end up. If it wasn't going to be Montreal, I mean, it's not a Sun Belt team, which is a darn good thing, right? So now he just needs to start scoring more goals. Got Sports Cards. Good evening to you. Late to the show, but that is all right. Thank you for joining us. Mike, I'm just going to scan the final comments here, and then I do want to, maybe I'll just jump right in. I want to talk a little bit about volumes and print runs. And a lot of people always want to know how many of this were printed, how many cases of that were available. Young Guns, everyone's always speculating how many Connor McDavid Young Guns were printed. Mike, how many Connor McDavid Young Guns were printed?
7.
I knew you weren't going to answer. Why don't you guys publish that information or make it known to the hobby?
Again, just being honest, we're a private company, and when you talk about print runs and volumes and things like that, that directly correlates with our revenues, and that's just something that as a private company we just don't share. I don't mean this to sound wrong. It's privileged information. It's really just.
Let me just throw in this, but you do announce it on the cup. We know exactly how many base cards there are, how many RPAs, we know how many Young Guns exclusives there are. So, in that, why on some products do we know and on some we don't? What's the difference between the cup and Upper Deck Series 1 and Series 2?
I think the cup's a little, it's a fair question. I think the cup is a much different animal though. Everything in there is serially numbered, low numbered. That's kind of the basis for the product, right? It's the reason for being. We do everything, it's the cup. It's the ultimate, right? Well, that's the wrong word to use. It's the highest level. And, so everything's numbered in there and, to varying degrees, but that product is it is what it is. And if anybody's doing math on that, that doesn't fluctuate year to year, but a lot of our other products do. And there's the biggest issue besides the proprietary nature of it is that, one of the things that's beautiful about this hobby is what you may think is limited, I may not, or vice versa. You may think, geez, we're at a point now where people think 99 is too many, right? But I may think that that's super limited. So, it's the beauty of, I always love to use the word perception. People have different perceptions of different things, and that's actually part of the fun. Let people try to figure it out. Let people try to speculate. Let people try to think about what it is. I'm not going to lie to you, though. We're not going to ever give that up. That's just, we can't do that. We're going to keep you guessing, my friend. But there are years where they're greater than others. But listen, we talked about it earlier. I worked at Fleer in the 90s, and I can tell you, as hot as that stuff is right now, one thing that those things were not is short printed. And so, if you were looking at it now, you'd think that stuff was super rare. They didn't make a lot of this, but none of that stuff was all that rare. 2001 Upper Deck Golf, you look at boxes now are a couple $100 a piece. That was not a rare product. I can tell you that for a fact. So
that was a 7-Eleven product, I remember.
Yeah, it's all relative. And what a lot of people think is too much of a product, to other people may not be, and over time it all bears out. But I'm not going to lie to you, that's not going to change.
Yeah. Oh no, and I don't expect it to, but I just know that people want to know. So it's great that we can hear it from you tonight. I do appreciate that. 6-1 Oilers. Nugent Hopkins with his second goal of the night. Kick down. I'm not kick down. I didn't roast you, man. I'm not going to roast you again. But I am going to say that as Mike explained, if you alienate one player, these players talk to each other. It's a bigger issue than just one player. So if a player doesn't want to work with Upper Deck, then peace out. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And I think that's what the hobby. Some collectors, yourself, you just don't understand until you hear it from someone like Mike. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Mike?
I do. And I think it's important to note, look, if a guy is a notoriously bad signer, we don't put him on checklists anymore. We try to weed him out, right? Like you learn, and for us, we got to take a look at that and learn from the past, right? The old saying, if you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it, right?
So it actually applies in that situation.
So, but then there are guys, some pretty big names, and I'm not going to throw any players under the bus, but like there's some guys who are just terrible signers, but they're great players and collectors want them. And they ask us, why isn't this person in the set? So sometimes we got to go out there and just bite the bullet and get them and just pray they're going to return the cards. And thankfully, in many instances, as the players have gotten older, they get a little bit more of a sense of responsibility and they send them back. These kids are younger. We're asking them to sign a lot of cards, right? It's a lot. And they're busy and they're trying to learn the game and learn how to, be a member of, learn the league. And it's a lot. It's a heavy weight on these kids. So then, they want in their downtime, they want to chill out and they don't want the responsibility of signing cards. As weird as that sounds to all of us, seems pretty easy. But at the end of the day, some of these guys are just have that more of a sense of that responsibility than others. And as players get older, sometimes you find that they feel more responsible about that and they get them back. So, but we'll take guys off the list and keep them off if they're really bad signers consistently, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great to hear. And kick down, you're right on that. Like, peace out. If you're not going to sign, we're going to stop adding you. And hopefully Upper Deck is able to identify those problem signers as early as possible. This question cracks me up. It's from my good man, Rodman Martinez, a humongous Michael Jordan collector. Is there a possibility of co-producing a product with Panini to bring MJ and LeBron autos back to the market?
So I told you that I would never lie, right? I'm going to tell you the truth, even though you may not want to hear it. The answer on that one is no.
Yeah. I figured. And I think Rodman probably knew the answer to that before he put it up there. So, okay. I was back to print runs. I was going to ask you, do you fluctuate them every year? But I think you outlined that earlier on in the episode when we talked about your planning for the year. You look at the macroeconomic conditions, when you're planning your year. So yeah, you're obviously going to plan your production based on that. So I don't think we need to get into that any further. I kind of answered my own question there. Okay, we're at the hour 50-minute mark here, Mike.
Really?
So I think we can deviate away from my notes. I've gone through, guys out in the audience. Thank you everyone for joining. By the way, tonight, great viewership tonight. I appreciate all of you guys being here. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comment, your question. There were a lot there. I got through as many as I can. We are going to, we're now going to move into what I like to call the Sports Cards Live 5. There it is up on the top of the screen. So right now we're going to go through 5 questions with Mike, learn a little bit more about him. He's the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Upper Deck, as you guys may or may not know by now if you joined late. Also, I'll take a quick second to say thanks to all the subscribers on YouTube. We're almost at 2,300 subscribers. Pretty awesome. Thanks to all of you. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed the show tonight or any older show. And if you haven't enjoyed the show tonight, hit the thumbs up button still. All right, Mike,
Yes.
Sports Cards Live 5. First question for you is, what is your favorite card in your personal collection?
Oof. Well, I have a few. A lot of them are. I do have some vintage baseball. I don't know that I have a favorite in that. I love the history of baseball, and with that, I love vintage baseball cards. But my pride and joy in my personal collection, I have an MJ Jambalaya from EX 2001. That's probably obviously for personal reasons, but also I just think it's one of the coolest cards, and I'm very appreciative of how important that card has become in the industry. But I told you I collect uncut sheets, so I have. Can I show you something?
Please, yeah, darn straight you can.
I don't know how many people probably have one of these, but this is kind of a cool thing. Can you see that on there?
Oh, I can see that. Rodman, check that out.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's got Kobe here at the top. I know MJ's on here somewhere.
You're getting fingerprints on Kobe.
Well, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, this has a special place for me. I told you I collect uncut sheets, so I like real oddball stuff like that. And I had, obviously, working on that team, I had access to that stuff, so I was pretty fortunate. But when I'm searching around on eBay for stuff, a couple times a week, I always plug in uncut sheets, see what comes up. And every now and then, most of it's nothing great, but every now and then something comes up, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta have that.
Yeah, that was very cool, man. Okay, question number 2. What's number 1 on your want list right now of something you will end up acquiring?
Ooh. I just got it actually. So I need a new number 1, but I want, and believe it or not, I got this the week before the Super Bowl. But I did get I got an autographed Brady jersey.
Oh.
So that it's not a card, but that was something that I wanted to get, and I got it. I finally pulled the trigger before the Super Bowl because I knew if I waited and somehow he won, it was going to cost me a lot more money. So I'm kind of proud of the fact that I thought to do that right before then, and it worked.
Okay, number 3. Where is your favorite place to buy cards?
Hobby shop.
Nice. Good answer. Good. Number 4. This is a question that is, I ask these questions of most of my guests, whether you're a industry insider, a passionate collector, or a content creator. And, but being someone who can actually make a difference, I want to know, if you could change one thing about the hobby, what would it be?
Wow. If I could change one thing about the hobby, what would it be? I think I would, if I could do anything, it would be a toss-up between getting rid of redemption cards and eliminating scammers, whether it be, card trimming, switching out patches, counterfeits. There's this proliferation. I'm sure you and your viewers have seen them on eBay of all these reprints of iconic cards. Yeah. I have someone who almost a full-time job scanning eBay to get eBay to get those things off the network. Those are off the top of my head. those are two things that if I could change anything, I probably would change. If you gave me some time to think about that and I come on again and you ask me, I'll have some more.
Well, you mentioned two there. I would argue that your second one is much more important to get rid of, being the scammers and the fraud versus the redemptions. We can
one is as a manufacturer and one is just as a collector and
fair. Yeah.
I think
I appreciate both. I'm just, if I had to pick one, it would be the second one for sure. And finally, what is your biggest hobby regret? A purchase you made, a sale you made too early, or anything else that comes to mind?
A
product you okayed? I don't know.
I had a sealed box of 93 SP baseball that I got in 93 when it released, and held on to it. And, you know, as the 90s were closing out, it was obviously getting to be a hotter box. And I sold it. I sold it before I went to work for Upper Deck. And man, when I see what those close for now, it makes me pretty nauseous.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be tough to beat that.
Yeah, for sure. Unopened stuff like that. Yeah. I remember being at the National in 2008 or 9. I bought a pack of 86 Fleer, the Jordan 86 Fleer for $300. Now it's like, I don't know, $6,000, something like that. Bought some other packs that have just exploded in value. And, you go back, you think, why did I have to have one of every year? Why can't I just have, loaded up on that one important year? But hey, we all have those regrets when we go back in time. Kick down was like, whoa, oh snap, when you showed your uncut sheet, right? Amit says every collector out there, just their heart just skip the beat. Rodman wants me to show my jambalaya. I'm not going to tonight, Rodman. I have other cards to show when I do my card of the day. I do have one of those as well, though, Mike. I'm a proud owner of one as well. And it's nice to know the guy who created the brand or was behind that brand at that time. That's super cool, man.
One thing that I think your viewers would get a kick out of, and this is a true story. So in the first year of EX, the first year I worked in EX was EX 2000, what I just showed you, and there was a baseball and a football. I built hockey. Hockey was built. It was.
Don't tease us like this.
Yeah, the set was built, not produced.
No,
into the printing, but the set, in principle and in concept, was built. The inserts were named. The checklist was done. And then Fleer didn't renew the hockey license.
Right.
The EX 2000 hockey was officially in our system to be produced, and it never came to be. So
were there jambalayas?
No, that came the year after.
Okay.
That was 97, 98. But there was going to be an EX 2000 hockey. I believe even John LeClaire was going to be on the box because back then he was pretty popular.
Yeah, Legion of Doom.
Deal with him, and it just never made it to the market, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Full says that should be framed. Again, your uncut sheet. Let's see if anyone let's show that uncut sheet one more time pretty quick here, Mike. That was truly that's just a relic, an artifact, if you will. When's there going to be a brand called Upper Deck Relics?
I think another company has a trademark on that word.
That is a spectacular piece, guys. I don't know if
there's MJ. He's down and to the left of Kobe there.
Yeah.
But if you notice, you can't really see it. But if I go real close, like right here, you see on this Scottie Pippen. Now this is bent up like that.
Yeah.
What I was talking about was when I was talking earlier about the damages when the first run came out, that was everywhere. And it was chipping everywhere. And you know those cards chip pretty easily, as I'm sure your viewers know, even the finished cards. But these are stellar compared to what was that first run that came out. It was an embarrassment, and it was really close to never happening.
Well, good thing it did. It's a great set, and that's a really cool piece you have there. Dr. Full says scammers trimmers should be punished by paper cuts with reprint cards.
I like it.
Pretty funny. And Mike says, Jeremy, ask just one question about Upper Deck Football. Just one. If you have a question about Upper Deck Football, I will be happy to ask it, Mike. Shoot it out there, and we can do that. Mike, let's move now to what I like to call my PC card of the day. This is where I'm going to show a couple cards to you in the audience that are sort of related to you, my guest. You're an Eric Lindros fan. Yeah. I'm going to show 3 Eric Lindros cards that I have. I made sure to only show Upper Deck cards. I did have a Topps card, but I didn't pull it out for you today. I'll start off with the Philadelphia Flyers card. This is the O-Pee-Chee from 2012-13, the black and white. These are really tough.
Yeah, very cool.
Remember these?
Yeah, sure.
That's
really cool.
Yep. Yeah, these are really cool. They've got that rippled sort of borders going on, and these were, I believe they were Easter eggs, really tough to find. So anyway, I want to show you that one. I am going to show you a jambalaya. This is from 2012-13, I believe it says. Eric Lindros in a Rangers uniform, jambalaya.
That always kills me too. That should never have happened, but yeah.
Yeah.
Ranger uniform's rough. Yeah.
It's rough. And finally, from the inaugural year of the Cup, 05-06, the Cup, the base set patch parallel out of 10 when Eric Lindros was with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that I'm fine with, because he's a Toronto kid, like that makes sense. Like that, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. I think great cards. These are all in my personal collection. They're not like available or tradable or anything like that. I love them all. So
that's awesome.
Good stuff there. Okay, we're going to do a couple final questions here. I'm just going to quickly throw up the overtime banner as we're over 2 hours right now, but that's okay. We'll go for about 5 more minutes, Mike, and then I will let you go.
No problem.
So I want to bring up, Andy Max says his wife will take that sheet, no problem. Mike says, okay, are we going to see new Upper Deck football products, either high school or CFL? Thank you. What can you let us know?
Well, CFL, we're licensee of the CFL. So, we did put out a set for 2020, even though there wasn't a season, but we fully expect to do 2021. That's always a fun product for us to build. Little challenging with no season this year.
You think?
Jersey wise, photography wise.
What about interest? What about interest wise? Like market wise?
Look, we don't produce CFL. It's not a huge revenue generator. That's no secret, right? But it's kind of a cool thing to have in the portfolio. We're as a company that prides itself on our hockey products, it's also nice to be able to, in addition to producing NHL cards, we have CHL, New Team Canada. It's a nice package to have those other things that are important to Canadian sports, to have CFL as part of our portfolio.
Okay, so there you go, Mike Zier. And I'll be honest, I'm just not interested in it myself. That's why you don't get much engagement out of me, but that's all right. We all approach this differently and have our own interests and what really turns our crank.
And just one last thing. We do, I don't know about a standalone football set, anytime soon, but we do pepper in some football players in Goodwin. I know Joe Burrow was in last year. We may have some things in store for this year.
Just like you do MJ and LeBron too, right?
Yep,
makes sense. Dr. Full says, I'm from New York. It always feels funny to see the aged big time stars in a different jersey. Yeah, for sure. Like Ray Bork and anything other than Boston, right? It just kind of doesn't really look right a lot of the time. I'm sure there's.
I still, to this day, I have trouble with Gretzky in a Ranger uniform.
Yeah. How about a St. Louis Blues uniform?
Yeah, I mean, that was like, yeah, that's weird, but there's something unique about that because it was so short. The range, I don't know, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, fair. Ryan says, thanks for the show, guys. Thank you, Ryan, for tuning in. Etienne wants to know, checklist for artifacts will come up when? Do you have any insight into that? Or maybe Chris can take that in the background in the chat.
You talking about for the draft redemptions? Because the checklist should be out for a while.
Products out, checklist should be out. I don't know. It's okay. Anyway, guys, listen, it's been a great show, Mike. Thank you so much for your candid responses to the challenging questions and just for your general, demeanor. It's been a pleasure to have you tonight. So I want to thank Upper Deck for having you here. And thanks, Chris Carlin, for handling some of the comments in the chat tonight. Thanks to everybody for tuning in.
Yeah.
Any final comments? Shoot them in right now. We're going to end this thing in about a minute here. And Mike, Brent Criswell says, great show. Thanks, Mike, for all your insight. Mike, we'll go to you for some final comments. Kickdown says thanks to you as well. I will let you jump in here. Final comments from you, Mike.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you do this. I am very appreciative that you have me on. I could, as you could tell, I like to talk. I love talking about the hobby. I love talking about cards. I'm a lot like you in that way. And, to be able to do this as my job is a blessing, right? Like, so I love doing this. So I'm happy to do it anytime. I'm glad that your listeners enjoyed it. And, I appreciate all the support, and I appreciate the support of Upper Deck. And I promise you that we have some really, really, really cool things and exciting things in store for the rest of this year that, maybe down the road, if you'll have me, I'm happy to come back and talk about as we get further down the road.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have you back, Mike. I thank you for offering, for sure. We'll definitely have you back. Chris from House of Jordan says, great episode, guys. Thank you, Chris. Etienne wanted to know for the rookies. Maybe Chris can handle that. Joe, thank you very much for thinking we had a cool show tonight. There's Player's Choice out of Kelowna, BC. Jason, thank you very much. And Dr. Full says, thank you, Mike, for a confidence boost for the hobby. That's a really nice comment, Doctor. Very nice comment. Unlucky Breaker says, okay, we're kind of moved past that. Thanks, Unlucky, but we're a little past that right now. Draft, there we go. Carlin lets everybody know the draft redemption list on Artifacts will come out in the next 2 weeks. Okay, everybody, check us back out in about 20 minutes. I will be coming back live on the channel with Adam Gray, the editor-in-chief of the Basketball Card Fanatic magazine. We're going to tell you how to subscribe to that in a couple of minutes. Well, in about 20 minutes when we're back live, we're going to come at 10:30 my time, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. That will be happening shortly. So come check that out. We're gonna keep on going because who wants to stop right now? Andy Cap, thank you very much. Etienne, thank you so much. Andy Mack wants to know if Upper Deck is hiring.
Always.
There you go. There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you, Kelly Winters. We are going to sign off. Mike, hang tight right there. Everybody else, we'll see you shortly on After Hours.